What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today it's time to rev it up because I am bringing you an updated deck profile for the one and only Yugioh Synchros. Now, as I have suggested with calling it Yugioh Synchros, this still has a core feel of being able to play as many of the Yugioh cards as you can kind of feel comfortable with. You can of course add Hedgehog into here as well. There's a lot of bit of adaptability, but I've also tried to make sure that it can be competitively viable by being able to play some non-engine cards, stuff like your Mulchomi Fualosh, your Ash Blossoms and Forbidden Droplets, to make sure that you have a fighting edge at your local environment. So with all of that out of the way, I'm going to take you through the entire main deck, the extra deck and a side deck that you're going to want to be looking to put together if you want to be taking this deck to any events. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Diving head first into the profile, we're going to be starting off with the starters. So we start off with Full Speed Warrior. Now this is the newest starter for the entire deck thanks to the legendary 5Ds decks, and it's pretty amazing. So this card is monsters you control that mention Junk Warrior are a Synchron monster with Warrior in their original name gain 900 attack during the battle phase only. But the most important factor is if it is normal or special, you get to add a Junk Synchron or a spell or trap that mentions Junk Warrior from the deck to the hand. So that will get you direct access to one of the other amazing new cards that we received in the form of the Synchro Fellowship. Now these can go either way. You can start off with Synchro Fellowship, happy days, or you start off with, of course, your Full Speed Warrior. The other benefit, if you are familiar with how Junk Synchron works, is it allows you to bring back a level 2 from the graveyard, which of course is going to be your Junk Full Speed Warrior. So you're kind of getting the benefits of everything. Yes, it will negate its effects, but you still have that level 2 that can then allow you to perform a Synchro Summon. So the Synchro Fellowship, what does it do? Well, it allows you to add 2 monsters from the deck to the hand, one being Junk Synchron and a monster that mentions Junk Warrior or Stardust Dragon. And you have quite a few of those in the deck, as you'll soon see. Then on top of that one, you do have to discard a card. Again, absolutely fine because your Junk Synchron wants a level 2 in the graveyard that you can revive. So whether you are reviving the card you add to discard or whether you're reviving any other level 2 that you choose to discard, you're in a very good position. You get to banish this card from the graveyard to then target a Synchron monster you control and you reduce its level by 1. Then you get to normal summon a Synchron monster during your main phase this turn in addition to your normal summon or set, but you only gain this effect once per turn. So again, that is very, very important because being able to do that is going to allow you to get cards that say, if this card is normal summoned, get this effect. You can do that twice, which is really, really effective. So you no longer need to go, that's my first normal summon, done and dusted. You now have the ability to do it again with the right card. Speaking of other starters, one of your other ideal starters that's been around for quite a while but has only recently entered the fray for a Synchron card is going to be your righty and your single lefty driver. Now the reason that these have entered the fray is because of the more recent your Scrap Warrior, which actually really does facilitate some plays, and I'll talk you through those when we get to the extra deck. But the idea is, again, for your normal summon, you get to special summon a lefty driver directly from the hand, deck, or grave. And then for a Synchro summon, you can substitute this card for any one Synchron tuner. So again, that's really, really important, especially when you are looking at Scrap Warrior that says specifically it requires Scrap Synchron. So this can substitute itself for that name, which is really good. The lefty driver, a little bit less relevant, but if it is special summoned, you can make this card become a level 3 until the end of the turn. So that's going to give you the ability to Synchro for a 4 or Synchro for a 3, depending on what you want to try and achieve. On top of that as well, during the main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you get to banish it and then add a righty driver from the deck to your hand. Now, it's a bit of a shame that this lets you add a righty driver, which is great, but this one will only let you summon back from the hand, deck, or grave, not the banishment. So if you banish a lefty driver, it's kind of like, hey, play more lefty drivers, and you kind of don't really want to do that in this particular build. But that is an option you could look forward to if you wanted to play more of a righty-lefty driver synchro style deck. Moving on to the synchros themselves, let's start up with a higher level being the Will Synchron. Now the reason you play this is for the pure fact that it can be treated as a non-tuner as well, which is actually quite important for this deck because this deck does play a lot of tuners, and as most people know, especially if you play cool tunes, a lot of decks right now need a tuner and a non-tuner. Not many actually need 2 tuners. Now you can utilize some cool tune cards in the deck if you really, really wanted to, but remember again that the 2 best ones being RS and Remix, both specifically require Mix and Rico, but there is something you can really consider. I quite like the idea of putting in something like a Rico or a Mix for the pure fact that they're the ones that don't tuner lock you, which could be quite useful if you're playing Synchro Overtake, which I am. But again, gives you a bit more flexibility and a bit more creativity. Moving on to the Stardust, so you get to play 2 of your Stardust. This can act as a bit of a starter if you want it to. Ultimately, you don't need to rely on it being a starter for this, but it does kind of give you a bit more benefits because this will send from your deck to the grave a non-tuner, being the form of the Stardust Trail. It also has the ability to special summon itself from the hand or the graveyard by tributing a monster, and it just also gets to search out a Stardust card as well. So there's loads that it can do, which is really, really important, because being able to search out your Illumination is how you're going to be able to get wherever it may be. By getting your Illumination, this is how you're going to be able to send your Stardust Trail from the deck to the grave, so you get access to your non-tuner, because then if you tribute a card, you can bring back your Stardust Trail, you've got Illumination that can adapt the levels, and at the time of activating Stardust Illumination, if you control a Stardust monster, you can also summon the Trail, or a Stardust Synchro monster, you can actually summon the Trail directly from the deck. So rather than it becoming a Foolish Burial, you get a free extender. So there's loads to kind of consider, and just A, B, C is really, really useful. Then for our level 3, we are playing 2 Junk Synchron and 1 Revolution Synchron. I personally still quite like this card. The fact that it can synchro from the hand as well could be really, really useful to get you in stuff like Crystal Wing. But then also being able to utilize itself in the graveyard to bring you another tuner back to the field can be nearly invaluable. The Junk Synchron is entirely up to you whether you want to play it at 2 or 3. I'm kind of happy with it at 2 at the moment. I'm testing it out, and the reason I'm only playing it at 2 is I am playing the Synchro Overtake, and the reason for this one is there's a lot of weaknesses in this deck in the sense that if your starter, whether that be your full speed warrior or your righty driver, get interacted with, and their effects basically say you can use any hand interaction on me whatsoever and it will hurt, they're going to be drawing them together like magnets. Then being able to play a Synchro Overtake can still give you the ability to spawn out a little bit more, just to give you a bit more extension, more so in the full speed warrior example than anything else. But can remember, we also do play 1 Scrap Synchron that is also listed on a Synchro monster that we play. I'll explain that when we get to it. For the level 2s, we do have the 1 Assault Synchron, and then for the level 1s, I've got the 1 Jet Synchron and the 1 Scrap Synchron. Now, you could arguably cut the Jet Synchron if you wanted to, but through testing, there's just been some times where I'm like, oh, I really wish that this was Jet Synchron rather than Scrap Synchron, and it kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility to adapt if you wanted to. Then for the other non-tuners that we played, we've got the 1 Junk Converter. This is something that I did used to play at 3. I've tempted it at 2. I'm now testing it at 1, but it really kind of comes down to the preference. What I like about this is you discard this and then any 1 tuner to add a Synchron monster from the deck to the hand. Again, the benefit as mentioned already is that this is a level 2, so being able to activate this, grabbing your Junk Synchron and then normal summon the Junk Synchron, bring back the Junk Converter, synchro these off, you can then chain block your Junk Speeder while also utilizing the Junk Converter's effect in the graveyard. Now, this deck will change quite a lot once we get the Overframe Junk Warrior, because that's a Junk Synchron, because that's just absolutely incredible. But until we have an actual date for the TCG, I'm not really going to rely on it too much as of yet. But this deck will adapt and it's going to be incredible. The other non-tuner we play is the 1 Crossroad Sonic Chick. Now, you can very easily play the Cobalt Hedgehog if you wanted to as well, but the idea with the non-Sonic Chick is it's a non-tuner level 2 that you can get very easy access to, and it also does mention Junk Warrior in its text. Then for the spell cards, free tuning, again, more ways to add a Synchron tuner from your deck to your hand, and then you send a card from the top of the deck to the graveyard. If you hit a level 2, you are celebrating. If not, it's not really the end of the world. Then 3 of the Synchro Overtake. I'm highly contemplating maybe cutting this down to 2, but the idea that I like behind this, as I've already mentioned, is it's just a way to allow you to absorb an interaction. What you don't want to happen is absorb an interaction and go, pass. The other options you consider that I really quite like is the Duskwalker and the Dawnwalkers, but you'd only play one of them, so it's either the, I think it's Duskwalker plus Supai and Dawnwalker plus, I might have got those the wrong way around, but the Anteater. The idea is one leads you to Synchro level 8, one leads you to Synchro level 6s. Obviously one's going to be better for Black Rose Dragon and the other one is better for Synchrons. But it's entirely up to you. I quite like what they can offer sometimes as well, but that kind of gives you a bit more of ability to go, right, this will bait out an interaction from my opponent, and then I'm able to keep pushing through utilising my normal summon. Then for the one-off power spell, we do have the 1 Foolish Burial. Again, getting a level 2 to the graveyard, happy days. But then you can also utilise this to get any other card to the graveyard that might be of use to you, whether that be a Stardust Trail, whether that be a Stardust Synchron, or even a Jet Synchron, you've got options. Now let's look at the other kind of non-engine, your interactions, your field breakers, you name it. Now I've got 2 Forbidden Droplet. You can very easily play 3, but what you need to keep in mind as well is that this is only going to be here as a go second defensive option to try and negate your opponent's field. It's not really going to help you combo. And that's where game 2 and 3 come into it, that when you know you're going second, you kind of increase your ability for breaking fields or interacting with your opponent turn 0 by utilizing more chummies. But then on the flip side of that, when you're going first, you want to maximize your combo pieces. This deck is one of them decks that really just wants to kind of complete its combo, and if it does, it's very, very difficult to break the field, and that's when you're going to double down, and I'll show you those side deck options. The other power spells that I'm playing right now to test out is I've got the one Call by the Grave. Pretty straightforward. You've got to be careful of Fulos, can be a little bit awkward to deal with. Ash Blossom can be a bit awkward to deal with. Imperms as well, not that you can do anything with Call by the Grave, but then Drow and Lockbirds can also be a little bit annoying depending on the situation. So, taking that into account, the Call by the Grave can be very reactive to what your opponent wants to use, but then, as I've already mentioned, it can't interact with some cards. So on the flip side of that, I'm testing out one Sales Ban in the main. Now, this could very easily be Crossout Designator, but what I like about Sales Ban is I look at my hand, I then make a judgment of what card in the entire game my opponent could have that could interact with me or disrupt me get into the field. Now, if they have a multitude of interactions, fine. If they don't have the interaction that I'm worried about, fine. It's a non-reactive, it's a preemptive kind of strike on that one. And I quite like the idea of being able to go, cool, with Crossout Designator, I need to have it as a reactive option, but also have that hand interaction that you are playing in my deck. Whereas if I'm up against a Malice deck, for example, and I'm like, they're probably going to be playing Dominus Impulse, and Dominus Impulse destroys my hand, whereas an Ash Blossom doesn't really affect me, I can go Sales Ban and call Dominus Impulse. I'm not going to use Dominus Impulse for the rest of the duel, so I don't really mind. So if someone I wanted to trial out is a bit of a power play, see if it works. You could double down on it, you could triple down on it if you wanted to, but the idea is that I didn't want to clog the deck down too much, and with Sales Ban there is always that unknown. You could call a card they don't have and it's completely useless, but it's just one of the ones that is a little bit of an extra safety net to help you play through a bit more. Then for the hand interaction cards, again, kept very simple on this one. We've got the Ash Blossoms and we've got the Fuloses. The idea with your hand interactions in this deck is that you either want them to be tuners so that it can help you play your roles out. You don't really want to be normal summoning these cards at all, because I've already mentioned and shown you that your most important normal summons would end up being your Full Speed Warrior, your Righty Driver, your Junk Synchron, and then your Stardust as like your last resort. They're like the last ones you want to be normal summoning. So there's a lot of bit of flexibilities in that kind of requirement. So you want to play the cards that are going to be the most effective for you. Fulos is just the one that gives you a little bit more purpose for going second, and that's where the side deck comes in with Meows and with the Perulia. The Ash Blossom is a reactive option against your own, against the Fulos your opponent drops on you, but it's also just generically quite a good card that gives you the most balance. You could consider main deck and Drow and Lockbird if you wanted to, and the only benefit of main deck and the Drow and Lockbird is that you would double down with the response against the more chummy Fulos. If you were going to do that and you were like, well, my Ash is a response to a Fulos or Perulia, and then the Drow is also going to be the exact same thing, I'd probably play a 2 and a 2, because you're going to be using them as a defensive interaction rather than an aggressive interaction to slow your opponent down, but that's entirely up to you. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now to show you the extra deck. So for the extra deck, you are going to be playing the one Scrap Warrior. Pretty straightforward and simple on this one, but it does require Scrap Synchron. And the monsters you control that mention Junk Warrior or are a Synchron monster with Warrior in its original name cannot have their activated effects negated, except Scrap Warrior. If this card is Synchro summoned, you get to take one Junk Synchron or one card that mentions Junk Warrior from the deck and either add it to the hand or send it to the graveyard. Now, this is what's really important about what I was mentioning earlier. So not only can you get direct access to the Scrap Warrior, but there are plays where you get direct access to the Scrap Warrior. You then also get direct access to the Synchro Fellowship. You activate the Synchro Fellowship. You add to your deck from the add to your hand from the deck your Junk Synchron and your Full Speed Warrior. You discard the Full Speed Warrior. Normal summon down the Junk Synchron. This would bring back the Full Speed Warrior. Now, in a normal situation, your Full Speed Warrior would be negated because this card special summons it back but negates its effect. However, because you already have Scrap Warrior on the field, remember that first line of text, monster you control that mentions Junk Warrior or are a Synchro monster with Warrior in its original name, this mentions Junk Warrior, cannot have their activated effects negated by anybody. Which means when this comes back, it's effects live and you just go again, which is crazy, crazy good. Now, it's not always the same scenario that you get to do this, but you get to take a Junk Synchron or a card that mentions Junk Warrior, being this one. So there's loads you can kind of do, and that's a little loophole that a lot of people sometimes overlook or forget unless you've been playing Synchros yourself. If you know that, you're in a very good position, and it's a little bit of a tech, not even a tech option, a little bit of a tip that you need to keep an eye on and know that that's how that can interact. And then if anyone calls you up and goes, oh wait, this summons this back, this is negated, you go, no, I've got Scrap Warrior. Now in a normal scenario, if you do it without Scrap Warrior, it's negated, but because Scrap Warrior is so darn good, it's not negated. Then we do play the 1 Metal Marcher. So this is your other level 3 that you can utilize. I have, specifically, and you'll see this now, the next card is Axial Synchron. Now you're going to be like, whoa, there's a specific level 4 missing. Why are you not playing the level 4? Well, I do not believe that this card will survive the next Forbidden Unlimited list. So what I wanted to do is when I was putting this deck together, I was like, well, let's put a deck together that doesn't rely on it. Now, honestly, this deck doesn't need to rely on it that heavily. It's just a nice level 4 Omni Negate that can help you protect your plays as you try to move your field further forward. But I was like, it's not a corner piece of the deck. It's not going to derail the deck if it does no longer be allowed to be played, if it does get forbidden. So I was like, you know what, I'll put the build together, and then if it does survive, happy days, I'll put it in. If it doesn't survive, this deck profile works, and it still lasts, and I haven't got to run around going, take that card out, put that card in. I've already done it. So we've got the Axial Synchron, adapt the levels. I do play the 1 Junk Warrior. Number 1, I really wanted to use the chibi artwork. It looks really, really funny. Number 2, you have to play this if you are playing Synchro Overtake, because it does mention Junk Synchron. But again, that's only if you're playing Synchro Overtake. If you're not playing Synchro Overtake, that's where your Herald of the Art Light comes in. And then your Synchro Overtake can then become even more consistency cards if you want to. You can look at a Ready, Set, Duel if you wanted to, or you can just kind of look at more interactions against your opponent. We've then got the 1 Garden Rose Maiden. The ability to be able to banish it from the graveyard and then bring back a dragon means that you can either utilize your Crystal Wing as Synchro fodder, or you can just bring it back after your opponent's already got rid of it, and it can actually put in a huge amount of work for you. Junk Speeder. This is the card that's going to step it up a level and rev it up, I suppose, is the right terminology, because once we do get that brand new Junk Warrior, we can make this without even needing to conduct our normal summon. Like, it's crazy. This card is always going to be magnetized to hate interactions. Not only can it get hit by Dominus Impulse, Infinite Impermanence, Effect Veiler, Ash Blossom, it does pretty much everything. It will be a target. But put it this way, if you resolve this card, you should be running the duel. We've got the 1 Stardust Dragon. I just, again, really like the chibi artwork. The 1 Axial Synchron Stardust. The 1 Psyframe Lord Omega. And then we do play the 1 Bills of the Diabolical Dragons. Now this is a card that not a lot of people play in their Synchron deck, which is absolutely fine. This is just a personal choice of mine. And the reason for this one is that Mitsurugis are really annoying. So what I like about this card is that it can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, and if you take a damage from an attack involving this card, or from an opponent's card effect, this card gains attack equal to the damage you took. It just makes it really, really awkward for your opponent to try and get past. I've seen this in person, so massive shout out to Terry, who's kind of inspired this one, is he played this in Scarlight, in Red Dragon Archfiend, and I was like, that's quite a good option. Again, personal choice. Some people do like to play Crimson Dragon. I'm not playing Crimson Dragon in this particular build. There are other cards you can consider that I'm also not playing. I'm also not playing the Jinjuracy, and I'm also not playing the Psychic and Punisher. But there are so many Synchros out there you can adapt. If you wanted to put 2 of those in, you can take out your Junk Warrior. You can then also take out the Bills, and then you open up the door for those. For the other level 8s, again, good old-fashioned Crystal Wing. The 1 level 10 of Bestial Dispatter. The 1 Arms of the Gen X Return 0, and the 1 Chaos Angel. Now again, this is a very aggressive level 10 lineup. Very specific. If anything, you could afford to cut one of these out. Again, that is your flexible options, your adaptability. If you wanted to add these in, or if you're like, I like the rest of the lineup, I want to cut one of them, I want to put Herald back in. Like, you have flexibility. That's what it's there for. But these are just kind of really cool options. I like the Arms of the Gen X because you have different attributes in your graveyard. You can actually negate quite a lot that your opponent really does undervalue. This batter, being able to recycle your banished cards and also being able to negate and summon back your banished cards is really important. And then Chaos Angel just being the Mac Daddy Chaos Angel. Now, it's not going to be perfect to make the Chaos Angel. It can get a little bit awkward, but there are ways that you can make this quite easily. And again, it's just one of them ones that making a Chaos Angel that then flat out protects all of your Synchro monsters is incredibly insane. Then the final card is the one Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. Just a very good generic level 12 that's going to be able to kind of put your opponent's monsters in their spam trap zones and make it very, very awkward for them to kind of get them back into rotation. Again, flexibility. If you don't like Chaos Angel, you don't like Gen X, or you don't like Dispatter, straight away you can go for your Crimson Dragon, you play the Vengeance Snake Eyes Dragon, and then you play another level 12, whether that be Cosmic Blazar Dragon or even the Stardust Divine. It could be a... trying to think of the other 12s off the top of my head. Like, they're the two you usually go for, is Cosmic Blazar, which is absolutely fine. You also play... I think there is a Centurion as well. I think it's Auxilia. There's like loads of level 12 you can mess around with. So entirely up to you. You've got flexibility. This is just the way that I prefer to play it. I like this is just a generic level 12 that I can make. And then I kind of lean into the level 10s more than the 12s. And some people will lean into the 12s more than 10s. You've got the options. So now for the side deck. Now this again is just a basic demo side deck. This will adapt with the format and the environment you're going to. So keep that in mind. But I do play free Draw Unlock Bird. Not only can it be a counter to my opponent dropping a Mulchami on me, but it can also just be very, very good if your opponent's deck likes to search a hell of a lot. I've then got two Nibiru. This is just one of the ones, if your opponent does not respect Nibiru in your environment, you either double these up or you can triple them up. And I'll show you the cards you'll take out if you want to triple these up. Two Mulchami Meows and two Perulia. This again is just flexibility over the environment. If the environment is more summoning from the Banishing Grave, you can go for 3 Meows. If it's more summoning from the hand, you go for Perulia. Entirely up to you. Then the other card that I'm doubled up on, which is 2 Evenly Matched. You can very easily play a Triple Tactics Frost if you wanted to. You could probably triple this up if you wanted to. But again, it's just a card that I don't think my environment really respects that much. And the amount of time of being able to go draw phase, standby phase, main phase, battle phase, end of battle phase, and just watch your opponent's face go is kind of entertaining, especially when they've just spent 20 minutes putting that field together. But I think definitely post the support and Blazing Dominion with the main with the Enya Cross, this card's going to become a mainstay staple for going second, 100%. And then continuing the other theme, I've got the one Crossout Designator in the side. This is just one of the ones that I can tailor towards my opponent. So if my opponent is playing Dominus Impulse, I'm like, okay, cool, maybe I don't need to put Crossout Designator in. If my opponent is going to play the Perulia, if my opponent is going to be playing the Droll, I can put it in. Completely optional, but again, this is one of the cards you can take out, and that's your third Nibiru or your third Evenly Matched. And then the final card I've got is 3 Gravity Collapse. So as you can kind of see, with my side deck options here, a lot of them are either for going first, go second, so like your Draw Unlock Bird, your Crossout Designator. The majority of them are going for going second, your Meows, your Perulia, your Evenly, and technically your Draw Unlock Bird, but like I said, Draw Unlock Bird's both. Nibiru, probably more so for going second than going first, but you should have that option. And then the only card that I play for going first is Gravity Collapse. This can very easily be Iron Thunder. It's one of the ones that if my opponent Dark Rulers than me, I can then skip their turn with Gravity Collapse or make them move to the end phase, and then hopefully still have all my field intact. And when my field is still intact by that point, if they've had enough to Dark Rule and no more me, I should be able to kind of crack back and win the duel from that point on. So completely optional, don't have to play this, but just one card again that not a lot of people always consider at the front of the head in regards to a Synchro deck, or like they usually look at, you know, the Iron Thunders or 1 Solemn Judgment, 2 Solemn Strikes, you name it, but it just kind of gives you a bit more flexibility. Anyway, that is it for the entire profile. Hopefully this has given you a bit of an idea on what a Synchron deck looks like right now. Again, as I've already mentioned, you have total flexibility to build this, use this however you want. There's loads of different options you can utilize with this deck. I love its flexibility. I love what it can achieve. And I just love Synchrons in general. I think they're a really, really fun deck. I was unfortunate enough not to be within the game during the Synchron format, like the 5Ds era. But since coming back, and I came back during the Arc 5 Pendulum era, since coming back, Synchrons is definitely one of my favourite summoning mechanics. No doubt. Like, I love cool tunes. I love Black Rose Dragon. I like Black Queen Dragon, even Stardust Dragon, you name it. TGs as well. Hella fun on TGs. Like, there's just a lot that I really do enjoy. And yeah, this is just one of these decks that I really do enjoy outright. And I think it's really fun. It's got a lot of flexibility. Previously, before the new support, we used to be able to play the adventure package. Now I think you're best off just playing the normal package without it. And I think it's still really, really good and very versatile. And when we get the new support, which has already been confirmed, we just don't know when in the TCG, this deck's going to be insane. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you do like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.